Hi, welcome and thank you for joining Study Island Getting Started for Teachers. My name is Jocelyn. I'm a customer success consultant here at Edmentum, and I'm here to kind of walk you through the beginnings of the program. So, I just want to talk a little bit about Study Island, just in case you don't have a background, if you weren't in those meetings. Study Island is, at its core, designed to support formative assessment strategies in the classroom and continuously engage, monitor, and assess student progress. That's just a big, long sentence to say that we want this to be a classroom tool that you can use to engage your students and help inform instruction. Study Island is designed from the ground up to your state standards. That means that we take your standards and then we write the questions, and not the other way around. We're not retrofitting. It's designed to help ensure that students receive quality practice. That means that practice looks like what they're going to see on their tests at the end of the year. It's designed to make sure that the students receive academic support and immediate feedback. That's important. Students know exactly where they're at any given time. It's designed to help differentiate inside and outside of the program, and it's designed to support a lot of student agency while providing you, the educator, with that real-time data that you need in order to inform instruction. At Edmentum, we're committed to providing programs that truly help students and educators achieve their goals, so we continue to invest in high-quality research so that we can understand the impact our programs are having. So we do a lot of research to make sure that our products actually work. And one of the things that we're looking for in this research is, of course, does it work, but also how does it work? What's the sweet spot there? So after controlling for student ability, we did see that students who used Study Island demonstrated more growth as evidenced on their exact path adaptive diagnostic assessment than those who had not. We noticed that students began to see significant gains around the 30 minutes per subject per week mark. So we went in, we got this validated by the Marzano Research Group to make sure that everything was done correctly, everything was done ethically, and we were validated. This study qualifies Study Island as an evidence-based intervention under the ESSA guidelines. In fact, it qualifies under moderate evidence, which is the second highest tier there. The Marzano validated study that we just discussed was based on students' growth on Edmentum's exact path adaptive diagnostic assessment, which is a valid and reliable growth measure. But since Study Island is designed to help students achieve on state assessments, we also wanted to do some research that was based on the state assessments. So we did a study in Arizona, and we did 2 more in Pennsylvania versus the PSSA. And there are 3 things that we were able to generalize across the results, which is that students of similar ability who use Study Island have, on average, higher state test scores. The second is that the state test scores put them right up into a higher performance level. And the third is that the positive effects were most pronounced in math, which I just think is neat, right? So today, we are going to go over a few things that you're likely to run into as a teacher. So we're going to go over your main page, the teacher page. We're also going to run through a few of the things that you can and will likely want to do in Class Manager. And then we'll run through creating an assignment. We'll tour the student side. And then we will talk a little bit about our help and support team. So the first thing we are going to do is, of course, log in. So we are going to come to app.studyisland.com/cfw/login. Now that's big and long. I would recommend bookmarking it. I have it bookmarked right here, right, on Chrome so that I can get to it anytime. You can also, of course, just go to studyisland.com, click login up here, and go to Study Island for Schools and click Login right there to get there. However, that is a lot of navigation, so again, I recommend just bookmarking it on your device and any other device that a student might use. So let's go in. Now, I'm logging in as an admin, but you'll see as we go through, there's not a whole lot of blue sky between admins and teachers. Teachers can do almost everything that admins can do. There are 2 pages, and these are those 2 pages in which teachers just don't have access to. So we're going to go in to teacher page. Now, when the first time you log in, it may ask for a whole bunch of information, right, to confirm your email, things like that. And if you have any problems with that process, please feel free to reach out to our support department. But once you've done all that, whenever you log in, you're generally going to be brought right here to the teacher page. And I like this teacher page because it gives you a lot of information right away. So the first thing that you're going to see is your blue ribbon snapshot, and that's going to be your top 5 blue ribbon earners and your bottom 5 blue ribbon earners. So in Study Island, whenever a student masters a topic, they earn a blue ribbon. So this is just a really quick way to see exactly where your students are at. And this is going to be their total blue ribbons, not just for any particular subject. Next, you're going to see the time spent snapshot. So your admin has set a weekly goal, and the default is 30 minutes per subject. Just 30 minutes. And so you're going to be able to see how much time your students have on average spent in the program. Now, this is not a real account. This is an account run by one single adult woman, so there's been no time spent in activities by students, but you have that there. You can also, on both of these, click in to see the full report. Next up, we have our class links. So a lot of the things that you would do in your classes, you can do right here. You can add new class. You can adjust student settings, and I'm actually going to click in here in just a second once I get through this. You can pull up a password list. You can pull parent notifications. So if you've set up parent emails and things, you can set up different parent notifications through there, and you can reset the start date. Resetting the start date just allows students to look like they haven't done anything yet, but you'll still be able to pull up reports. This is undoable, but it's something that I would absolutely discuss with any of your team teachers before you do it. So I do want to pop into student settings. And we are just going to come right here. You can see that you can adjust the passing goal, so that's the number of questions required to earn a blue ribbon in a topic. You can restrict access to easier or harder material. This is just for independently navigated material. It won't affect assignments. So if you have a third grade student and you're like, oh, this student likes to go in on their own, but I want them working on second grade material when they're working on their own, that's something that you could do right there. Keep in mind, this is something that you have to undo. So if you do it, make sure you remember to undo it, or the teacher next year is going to be very confused. Next, you're going to want to modify the practice section. This just reduces the number of answer choices for individual students for multiple choice only. It does not affect technology enhanced questions. And the read aloud setting. So if a student requires audio support, that's something that we can provide right there. I'm going to go back to that teacher page. Here you have your emailed reports. So if you've set up any reports to be emailed to you regularly, you can find them there. And next are my assignments. So every different kind of assignment that you can create from right here. Now, once you're in the product and you've started to get your bearings, the first thing that you're probably going to want to do is create a class. You can either do that from your class links right here, add new class, or go to class manager over here. I'm going to click add new class for now, and we'll explore class manager in just a few minutes. So the first thing that you're going to do is title your class. I am just going to call this 2019-2020 Miss Thompson's 4th grade reading. You can title this however you want. Just keep in mind that you're going to need it occasionally, so make sure that you title it really intentionally so that you know exactly what you're doing. If you are an administrator, you may be creating your classes for your teachers. In that case, you can set who the class owner is right here. I'm just going to leave it as myself. As a teacher, you can add up to 10 co-owners. So co-owners are anybody that you may want to have a stake in this. These are people who can add assignments, who can edit assignments. They can't delete assignments, but they can view all of the necessary data. So people like your team teachers, a paraprofessional, a co-teacher that you may have. Anyone who has a high stake in your students' assignments should be here. I don't want to add any co-owners to my own class, but you can add up to 10. Next up are some school preferences. So school preferences, we can get a little deep in here real quick. I'm going to click this to yes for now so that we can take a look. The first school preference is game mode. So in regular practice and instruction assignments, students will have the option to play what's called game mode. I love game mode. I think it's a really great way for students to get encouraged to really do the work and get the right questions, but it can be distracting. So a lot of people like to say, you can't play game mode during school hours, but when you go home and you do your homework, you can play game mode there. Other people like to set some sort of standard, like you can't play game mode until you're already making a 70% or higher. Keep in mind that this is a cumulative score. So if a student earns a 10% somewhere or is just really struggling on one subject, it can be really difficult for them to pull that cumulative score back up without some teacher intervention. So if you choose to use one of these cumulative measures, just keep it in mind that you're probably going to have to kind of keep an eye on that if you want it to be fair and equitable for all your students. Me, I'm just going to leave it to yes. Next up, we have a few sort of cosmetic things. That timer, the scratch pad, and the additional highlighters. These are all just things that we have allowed you to turn off in case they're distracting to your students. I know that the scratch pad especially can sometimes get distracting, and the timer can cause some anxiety in students. So we have allowed you to turn those off for all of your assignments. Last step is enable building blocks. Now, I love building blocks. I think they're a really cool part of Study Island. What building blocks are is if a student earns less than a 40%, especially in one of these like highly spiralized topics like math or ELA, they may get an easier version of the same topic. So for example, if they're working in 4th grade math and they're working on the beginnings of fractions, right? If they're struggling really hard with fractions, what they may end up with is 3rd grade fractions. And if they're struggling really hard with 3rd grade fractions, we may go all the way down into just learning to divide, starting to learn how to divide so that we are building up those base skills that students need in order to move forward. Next up is actually creating your class. So I said that I was making 4th grade readers, so I'm going to choose 4th grade. And you'll see I have a big list. Yours might be even bigger. So if you have a huge list like this, you can always choose Control F on your keyboard or Command F if you are working on a Mac. And you can just search for the student. So I'm going to say just like that. And then I'm just going to add a few more for flavor. All right, so those are my 4th graders. So all I do now is I just click Save, and my class has been created. There we go. My class has been created. All right. So once your class is created, it's going to take you to the class page and assignments. I like this page. I think it's a nice little jumping off point for a lot of different places in the product. We'll kind of go through this step by step again. The first one is class page activated. So when the class page is activated, students in the class will be able to view the class page. If students cannot view the class page, they cannot see their assignments. So sometimes over our support team, we'll get calls that it's just like, my students can't see any of their assignments. I don't know what's going on. 9 times out of 10, somehow the class page got deactivated. Next up is block other material. So when other material is blocked, students will only be able to use Study Island topics that are assigned to the class page. So they won't be able to navigate to other topics using the navigation bar on the left. So students on their end, and we'll take a closer look at it here in a little bit when we go and take a look at the student side. Students have something that looks a lot like this. They can go in and they can choose their own topics and just manually navigate through the program. If you choose to block other material, they cannot do that. So sometimes what we'll have is we'll have a team of teachers, right? And the teachers all have Study Island, but they all use Study Island just a little bit differently. And one teacher says, I don't want my students to be able to work on anything that I did not assign. So they'll block other material. This is great. Now the students can't work on anything that they didn't assign. They can't like go wander off into the kindergarten programs or something like that. They are only going to be able to work on what's been assigned. This is great until they go to their next class, in which another teacher has their students navigate by going to Texas programs, 3rd grade. And then what will happen is the second teacher will call us and they'll be like, my students can't see anything. What's going on? Well, the first teacher has cited the block of the material, so we can't see that anymore. So that's a really long way to say that if you want to use this feature, tell your friends. Let them know that you're doing it. Otherwise, it looks really scary. All right. Next up is the class page header. If for some reason you want your students to see something other than what you see, you can set that right there. So I can say I want this to be Miss Thompson's 4th grade Eagles, right, on their end. And click Update. And now on the student side, instead of seeing what's here on the class properties page, the Miss Thompson's 2019-2020 4th grade reading, they'll see Miss Thompson's 4th grade Eagles. And then you can insert any class updates and news right here. All right, so next up is class assignments. So you can add your class assignments right here. You can also come to teacher page, and you can add your assignments right here. But my new favorite way to add assignments is actually up here in the content search. So we're going to come check out this brand new feature. It's called content search. At time of recording, this came out 2 days ago. So it's very exciting. I'm so excited to be able to show this to you. It's a really cool feature. You'll see that we are working with a little bit of a different OS, but hopefully it'll be pretty easy for you guys to figure out. So you'll choose your state, then you're going to choose your program. It's just like any other way that you would create an assignment. I am going to choose 4th grade because I've been working off 4th grade today. And I'm going to choose English Language Arts. So we are going to filter by topic. Actually, we're going to filter by standard because I have my lesson plan out and I know exactly what standard I need to be working on. And I'm working on 4.10b and 4.10f. And look at all this stuff that I have. So I have developing and sustaining foundational language skills, all of this stuff here that I can dig into and start taking a look at. Now this is a lot, so maybe I want to filter out a little bit less, and I'm just going to do this one. All right, so now I see that I have a lesson, and I have flashcards, I have practice, and this is brand new. We can select the lesson. So I can say, I really want my students to read this lesson before they begin their practice. I also want my students to do these flashcards before they do the practice. And you know, I kind of actually want them to do this lesson as well. There we go. And then of course I'm gonna have some practice in there, right? So from there you'll just click Assign Selected Resources, and you can even enforce the order of topics and resources. So I'm making my students do 2 lessons and a flashcard and some practice. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this first lesson and then this first flashcard and then this practice, right, all in order. But if I wanted to, I could say I want them to do the lesson, then I want them to do the practice, and then I want them to do the flashcards in review, right? So you have all sorts of different options. You can do it however you'd like there. We're just going to go on to, oh, sorry, before I move on, you can, of course, check on the expectations there so you can see what those are as you go through. You can choose whether or not to include constructed response questions. That's not really an option on this particular one, but if we had those, that's available right there. And then you can choose the number of questions per session. So I actually want there to be 10 questions, and I want them to have to get an 80. I want them to get 8 out of 10 in order to earn that blue ribbon. But this one, they can just earn a 70. It's fine. Whatever works for you in your classroom. So we're going to go to Next, and we're going to title this assignment. Let's see. I'm going to call this one Author's Purpose. And then I like to date all of my assignments because I have a tendency to get really lost if I don't. You can choose whether or not to activate the assignment right away. If you choose not to activate the assignment, students won't be able to view it at all. You can also choose whether or not to enforce the date. So I can say I only want my students to be able to access this assignment from now through the 31st, right? Outside of these dates, it's going to appear in gray, and they're not going to be able to touch it. So just to reiterate, this one, they cannot see it at all until you go in and activate it manually. This one, they will not be able to touch it outside of the dates, but they'll know it's there. So this is great if you want to like prep a pop quiz or something, and this is great if you just want to enforce the dates. Then you can choose calculator type and add instructions, and if you want to, those same school preferences that we talked about in the class manager are right there. So we'll go to next. And once more, we're just going to choose our class. So I just created 4th grade English 2019. I have a lot more classes than hopefully you ever will. This is a strange little demo account. And I'm just going to say I want all of my students to take it, so I'm going to click that. If I wanted all of my students but Will Garlick to take it, I could do it just like that. And I'm going to click Finish. All right, and from there, I can actually hop right back into Class Manager. So let's go take a look at Class Manager. So I am back in Class Manager. So this is actually a different class, as I'm sure you'll see. And the reason I pulled up this different class is because I wanted to see what it looks like when some stuff has started to happen. So here I have some data. And this right here, you can hover over it. You can see this is practice and instruction data. So the kind of assignment that we just created from up here in Content Search is a practice and instruction assignment. We can view the assignment results just by clicking this little bar graph right here. So here, we immediately have some great working data. I can see that Manny's cumulative score is a 31.2. He is really struggling up here in 7th grade math. You can see that he was doing a little bit better in real-world rational numbers than he was in rates, ratios, and proportions. So I know that when I take Manny aside and I ask and see if he needs any assistance, that a great place to start is here down in real-world rational numbers. And then we can move on to rates and ratios and proportions. So this is just what the data looks like. You can also click in and view exactly what Manny missed on that section. So I can see exactly what kinds of problems he's missing. That's great if you're like digging in and looking for intervention, or digging in for an intervention. You can also see how many times they took each individual session. So I can see that Justin Duncan actually took this 5 times here, and his highest score was a 40%. So I know that he's actually really struggling here if that's the best he's doing. So I have a whole bunch of information. I can also go and click Manny's name, and I can find everything that he's done in this particular section. And I can see, look, he actually got a building block. So here he's got the rates, ratios, and proportions, and he scored less than a 40%. So the 6th grade topic, ratios and rates, came up. So he's going to be required to complete that 6th grade ratios and rates topic before he can move forward back to rates, ratios, and proportions. So that's just a quick little look at the data here. It's a great jumping off point and a very quick way to look at this. The next thing that I want to show you is actually the student side. So I'm going to pause here and we're going to log in as a student. The last thing I wanted to show you today was actually the student side. So you'll see that on the student side, as soon as they log in, they're going to see how many blue ribbons they've earned this year. This is one way that students can kind of start to hold themselves accountable. Something that we do see sometimes is a discrepancy between the number of blue ribbons that the teacher sees and the number of the blue ribbons that the student sees here. This is a total number. So if they are going in and they're doing like 1st grade and kindergarten content and they're actually 4th graders, those blue ribbons will appear on this screen as well, whereas you have probably filtered by grade on your end when you pull up a blue ribbon report. So with that in mind, just keep in mind this is the total, including everything that they do. Next up, you'll see suggested topics. Now, Manny, we've kind of already discussed. Manny was having trouble with rates, ratios, and proportions in real-world rational numbers, so these suggested topics have appeared for him to keep working on. If Manny had any in-progress topics, those would appear right here. But Manny does have some active assignments. All of those active assignments appear right here. The oldest due date is going to appear first. So you can see that this is December 3rd, 2018. This is the oldest due date in there. There is only room for 3 on this page. All the rest will be here over in my classes. So students will have as many classes as they have here, and they can go in and they can view their assignments. And this is what's called the class page. So if students, if their class is deactivated, this is what they won't be able to see. And they, of course, can start. All of their stuff from right there. Students and their parents, as long as their parents have that username and password, can also go in and view their own reports. So this is really useful for parents who are really involved in their students' lives and education. They can come in and they can take a look at their own students' reports. Students will only be able to view their own grades, so we're not violating any FERPA here. They will be able to see a statewide comparison report. This is just in comparison to the state and the school, so just sort of a way for students to get a norm referenced idea of where they're at. They can also even view their high scores for game mode. They can also come in and independently navigate. So remember when I had that like 5-minute discussion on what happens if you block other material? This is what goes away. Texas programs or your state programs and U.S. programs usually beneath it. So I do want to show you what it kind of looks like on the student end really quickly. And again, this is just a practice and instruction assignment. We're not going to get into built tasks or anything in this particular one. We can go in more depth on another session. But let's take a look. I chose 3rd grade because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of you guys. And you'll see you can view the lessons, the flashcards, there's practice, game mode, and even printable worksheets. I'm going to go to game mode just because I kind of want to view it with you guys. So I am going to choose Salsa Nights right here, and we're going to hit play. Now, I'm not going to make you sit through 10 minutes of me playing Salsa Nights. But we are going to go ahead and answer this question. Oh, no, it's technology enhanced. I will speed this up. All right, so I finally got to a question that I could answer quickly enough for you guys. And it says that I'm guessing, and I wanted to stop and point out that we do have this feature so that when students are just clicking through for that 1 in 4 chance that they'll get to play the game, it'll call them out on guessing, and then it'll make them wait for 10 seconds. So hopefully I've talked for 10 seconds, and there we go. So when I got that question right, I got the ba-da-da-dum, and Taco came out, and he said, good job. So that's what happens when you get questions right. You can also view the explanation. So this is the same explanation that would have popped up right away if they'd gotten the question wrong. And when they get a question right in game mode, they can play a game. So this is just a quick little non-educational stress-busting game designed to kind of just help students have fun and give them a little incentive to work really hard and get those questions right. Now again, I am not going to make you sit through a full minute of me playing Salsa Nights. That is insane, so I'm just going to hit quit right up here. A fun implementation that I've seen is sometimes people will start these sessions on a smartboard, and if the student gets it right, they'll let the student play the game up on the smartboard, and they'll kind of keep track of the score as they go through. So one more thing that I wanted to show you all today is the Teacher Toolkit. So you can access the Teacher Toolkit just through this left-hand navigation right here. And there is so much stuff that you can do here at the Teacher Toolkit. Now I've already begun a search, and I just searched authors because I know that we're kind of working on the author's point of view today. And let me take away these here. You'll see that I have stuff for author's purpose just 4 pages worth of stuff. I want 3rd through 5th grade, so we'll start there. Let's just get rid of those 10th and 11th grade ones. And let's say right now I want one of Taco's video lessons. I have one of his video lessons right here, and I can play this up on
The
my
author's
smartboard for
point
my
of view
students.
is the author's opinion or attitude about a topic.
Now, I'm not going to make us listen to that, but that's a whole video that we have to kind of help students understand this. Let's say I don't want a video lesson, I want a teacher video. I want something to teach me a little bit about how to teach this. I have this right here. I can pop that open if I'd like. I also have a lesson plan, so I'm going to pop open that lesson plan, and we're going to take a look right here. This is for 3rd grade author's purpose. I'm going to pop that lesson plan open, and you'll see that I have all of this right here. So I can kind of look at the lesson summary, the lesson objectives. I can fill in my own standards, things like that. And I can also print this out and use it. We have stuff for whole class instruction as well as for the advanced learner and the struggling learner, so there's some differentiation already built into these lesson plans. It's a great way to kind of get started. So the last thing that I wanted to show you is that help and support. So we are going to come to our help center right here, and you'll see that we have all sorts of stuff. So let's say as a teacher, I have a question about group sessions. We didn't cover that in this particular video, but let's say that I wanted to learn a little bit more about group sessions. I wanted to create a group session. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to click Create Group Session, and it's actually going to lead me right through. It's super smart, so it's going to tell me what to do. Now I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to go through all of that today, but that's just one example of the way that the Help Center can help you. There's also, of course, all sorts of different quick start guides, things like that, user guides. If you're the kind of person who learns a little bit better by reading than by listening or watching, that's definitely available for you. We also have live support, and I'm going to pull this up because it's going to have my information right here. So if you have any questions about the things that we went through today, this is my email right here, jocelyn.thompson@edmentum.com. You can also reach out to our amazing support center by clicking live support. We are here from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time or Central Daylight Time. We're located in Texas if you're ever unsure. You can call at 800-419-3191, option 3, or you can email support@studyisland.com. With all of that said, I do want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to watch this today. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.